How's everybody doing today? Today we are going to talk about Brussels sprouts. I know, right? We go from beets, people are probably going to gag me, to Brussels sprouts. When I was a kid, I couldn't stand these things. But when I was raised, growing up, it was you eat what's put on your plate and you don't get up till you do. So I ate my fair share of them, even though I didn't care for them. And now, as an adult, I like them a lot. So anyway, not that y'all give a rat's rip about my culinary habits as a child. I'm going to show you two different ways. Easy, quick, fast, simple, tasty ways to get Brussels sprouts on your dinner plate. You know, one of those evenings where you're rushing and trying to get everything put together and you don't really have a lot of time and oh my gosh, I got to get this done. These are two simple recipes. They're really, really good. So what we're going to do is I've got a couple of pounds of Brussels sprouts and I'm going to turn the camera down and show you how I'm preparing them or how I'm prepping them. Then I'll pause it, I'll get them all prepped, and then we'll come back. But lost my train of thought. Getting old is so much fun. Anywho, let's flip down here. Can you see? Yep, there we go. Okay, so Brussels sprout in that great little tiny head of cabbage. I'm just going to cut them in half. But what I've been doing, I've got a few in the bowl here. Let me go back this way. Is, you know, this one's kind of small, so I didn't cut it. This one was really big, so I cut it because I want them to be, you know, as close in size as I can get without just mincing them down to nothing, so that they cook evenly. So what you want to do is just cut that stalk part off. And these, I've had these in my fridge a couple of weeks. I know you're probably thinking, do you keep everything for a couple of weeks? Yeah, sort of, kind of. Sometimes I do. So some of the outer leaves are a little ick. So I'm just pulling those off and throwing them in the compost pile. Ugh, that looks a little nasty. Got some kind of nick. Then I'll cut that in half. See, and again, I'm cutting them so that they're pseudo-uniform and so they cook faster. Some people would call that being impatient, wanting them to cook faster. I choose to call that efficient because I want them to cook faster. So that's that. But that's all you got to do. Just cut your tip off. If you have any outer leaves that are kind of nasty like mine are here, they're just kind of old and wilted, just peel those away. That's got a little gnarly spot on it. Cut that off. Cut that in half in the bowl. And this really doesn't take but just a few minutes. So you can do that. And I'm going to do this with both pounds separately. And then I'll come back and show you the two. Why isn't that coming off? Oh, there we go. The two really easy recipes. So hang tight. Okay, I told a tiny little story. I decided to just finish 1 pound to get this in the review. Just do 1 pound of them to start with. And one thing I'll say about Brussels sprouts, with a lot of vegetables, a pound will give you about 4 servings because you're going to have, you know, about 4-ounce servings. Brussels sprouts will give you more like 5 or 6 because, I mean, you know, this is a pretty decent serving right there. The thing about food, 2 things that make you feel full is healthy fats and fiber. So you got lots of fiber in here, and we're fixing to put some lard, our lard, on these. So you got healthy fat and fiber, so it doesn't take a tremendous amount to fill you up. So anyway, what we're going to do with this first one is we're going to roast these. Super simple, but God, it's good. So we're just going to sprinkle some pepper. I like a little bit of pepper. And we're going to put, my pink salt's a little clumpy. That's okay. I'd rather have my salt a little clumpy and have to mush up the little clumps than have aluminum in my salt to keep it from clumping up. Isn't that awesome? That's what they do in commercial white, iodized, garbage, nutrient void salt. Anyway, so I'm gonna guess on this pound, half a teaspoon of salt and pepper. It's about what I'm doing here. So the other thing I want to do, here's some of our roasted garlic. I'm gonna get, I don't know, maybe a couple tablespoons. I like garlic a lot. Mush this down, just like we talked about in the video before. And see, it's got the lard on it, so that's just, you know, adding another little layer of yumminess. Throw that in there. And then, yep, I'm gonna use the same fork. It's not gonna matter a bit. Get me a scoop, probably, that's about a tablespoon, I'm guessing, of lard. So, get all that off. Let me bring this guy over here where you can see what I'm doing. And we're just gonna toss this together really, really good. Don't worry if some of your outer leaves on your little heads of Brussels sprouts come off. Not gonna hurt a thing. Oh my gosh, this garlic, I could just eat it straight out of the dadgum bowl. I love it so much. I was talking to a friend earlier today about the garlic, and she was saying how she really likes using fresh garlic. She loves roasted, but she likes cooking with fresh. And I told her, and this was something I didn't mention in the garlic video, you can take the fresh toes of garlic, like we had, little cloves, and put them in a jar with some oil. Like this is olive oil. You could use olive oil. You could use lard, and just stick them in the freezer that way. Don't roast them, but just have them in the oil, so it kind of helps preserve them. And then when you need them, just fish them out and use them. And then you're also getting some kind of slightly infused oil, which is not a bad thing either. So if you prefer to cook with fresh or want to have fresh available in addition to roasted, that's one way to do it. All right, so here is, I don't want to put this up there because I don't want to get oil on the bottom of my cookie sheet. So I got a cookie sheet, a piece of parchment paper. We're just going to put this on here. Oh my gosh, it's sliding everywhere. I love this. Love it, love it, love it. So you just want to spread this out. You want one layer. It's okay if they're touching, that's no big deal. It's none of this mama he touched me in the back seat garbage like when you were a kid. But you just want it flat, one layer. You don't want them stacked on top of each other. And that's that. Get all that off there. And then they're gonna pop them in the oven. I've got it on 425. We'll do it for probably about 20 minutes and then check them and see if you just want them kind of fork tender, and they'll be a little bit caramelized, and they are divine. So I'm gonna stick these in the oven. I'm gonna go ahead and prep the other pound of Brussels sprouts for the second recipe. So you kind of have two things you can do. So a pound of Brussels sprouts, couple tablespoons of garlic, or however much you like, more, less, whatever. Half a teaspoon of salt and pepper, about a tablespoon of lard, toss, 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 spread flat, pop in a 425-degree oven. Hold tight. Okay, we're back. I got all the Brussels sprouts, the other pound of Brussels sprouts, all cut up and prepped the same way we did the first ones. We're over at the stove. I'm going to turn this down. See if you can see what's going on. Okay, so we've got a pot with maybe half an inch of water in it. I mean, there's not much. Yeah, it's about a half inch, not much at all. So we're going to put these Brussels in there. I've got it turned on. And what we're going to do is just kind of pseudo-boilish, steamish. You know, I'm not real particular about my cooking terminology, as you can tell. Let me move this out of the way. See if I can bring this over a little bit. Maybe where you can see it a little better as it cooks. Eek. Okay, I guess that's pretty good. No, I'm not going to sit here and make you watch a pot of Brussels sprouts, but we'll just put them in there. You just want them just barely covered. And turn it on high so it gets really hot. So let me find the lid. I think that's the lid to this pot. Bam, yep. Okay, so we're going to let these go for, I don't know, 3 to 5 minutes. Check them, see how tender they are, and then we'll go from there. So hang tight. All right, let me interject for a second. Check that out. So the oven just went off. This was 1 pound. Look at those babies. Don't they look yummy? And see, they're just tender. Oh my gosh. I know what I'm fixing to be munching on. And a little bit caramelized, and I can smell the garlic. And how stinking simple was that? Pretty stinking simple. So I'm gonna set these over here. So that could be one quick and easy way to throw Brussels sprouts on the side. Not bad, huh? Ooh, aren't they pretty? Look how bright they are. I love that color. Yeah, these still have a little bit to go. So we'll be back. Okay, here we go. These have been kind of boiled, steaming, slash-ish for about 6 or 7 minutes. Not that long. And see, they're just tender. You can get a fork into them. They don't just mush, but they're not super soft. So, you know, my favorite saying, it's your kitchen, do what you want. You can get them as soft or leave them as firm as you like. I've been over here munching on our roasted ones. They're so dadgum good. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna drain it real good, and then we'll move back over to our island and I'll finish it out. Okay, so our Brussels sprouts, I drained the water off really, really good, because you don't want any water in there, because you don't want them to be watery and mushy and ick. So what we're gonna do is, if you have an Italian dressing, please don't buy the bottled dressings. But if you have an Italian dressing made, you can just pour that over this. I don't have mine made up, so we're just gonna throw it together really quick. I make my own Italian seasoning blend in one of my recycle jars. So this is to make Italian dressing with. I just don't have the dressing made up. No biggie, it's super simple here. So my only problem is I don't usually measure, I just guess. So we're gonna kind of figure this out together. This is olive oil, there's a little bit of pepper down in the bottom, that doesn't matter. This is the most amazing olive oil you'll ever have in your life. The brand is Organic, not El Cabo, that's a restaurant in Shreveport. It's Organic Roots. They're out of California, and oh my word, it is so good. I'm gonna guess probably like a tablespoon and a half, which is actually a tablespoon, 1.5 teaspoons. This is coconut vinegar. Yeah, can you see that? You can use any kind of vinegar. Don't use white vinegar, it's nasty. You could use apple cider vinegar, rice wine vinegar, red wine vinegar, whatever kind you want. I just happen to grab the coconut vinegar because I like it. Put a little bit of that. I'm gonna do the same thing, about a teaspoon or a tablespoon and a half. Again, I'm kind of guesstimating. And then for the seasoning, you know, if you had this mixed up and you just poured it over the top and stirred it around, I'd probably tell you to do about 3-ish tablespoons. So I'm gonna do maybe a teaspoon of the seasoning. Let me grab a spoon. Had everything ready except that. And then you just want to stir this around. Y'all, this is so super good and so super simple. And see, while your Brussels sprouts are steaming, you could mix up your little dressing to put on top. If you make your own seasoning blends, you always have what you need. And it's so dadgum easy to make them. You know what's in them, clean ingredients, rock and roll. Dadgum, that smells good. And then I'm just gonna sprinkle a little bit of Parmesan cheese on top, which I shredded earlier. And that's all there is to it. 2 or 3, 4 tablespoons, whatever rocks your world. And it's like an Italian vinaigrette, Brussels sprout joy for your taste buds. I don't know what the name of it is. I've just been doing this for a very, very, very long time. And this is the Parmesan I used. If you're dairy-free, OMG, this stuff is the best. You would never know it's dairy-free. If you're not dairy-free and you want to use regular Parmesan, go for it. Just please make sure that it's as raw as possible from grass-fed cows. Not that stuff that's like faux Parmesan. So anyway, that's it. Oh, messing up the camera again. So, what do you think? So we've roasted them. My camera's a little cockeyed for some reason. Forget it. We roasted a pound, a little salt, pepper, garlic, lard, 20 minutes, 425. They're awesome. They're right back here. I've been munching on them. Yum. Those are awesome. And then if you want to do something different, then steam them. Just get them fork tender. A little Italian dressing, or if you make your own, a little red wine vinegar, or a little vinegar, olive oil, Italian seasoning blend, and some Parmesan cheese. It rocks. You'll love it. It's so good and it's so simple. So I hope you try those. If you have great Brussels sprout recipes you like, throw them in the comments. If you have any questions, throw them in the comments. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll talk with you next time.